my brother said. Cancel your surgery and take me to the finals. When I refused, he backhanded me. Brat, Dad spat. His dream matters, you never did. So I vanished, and they lost everything. My name is Sloan. I am 27 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I have been a ghost in my own home. That Saturday morning began like every other Saturday for the past decade, with the oppressive silence of a house that demanded perfection before the sun even fully rose. The digital clock on the microwave blinked 5 in the morning, casting a sickly green glow across the granite countertops of my parents' kitchen in suburban Denver. The house was cold, kept at a frigid 65 degrees because my father, Rex, insisted that cooler air was better for recovery and sleep, specifically for the 19-year-old boy sleeping in the master suite upstairs. I stood by the stove, shivering in my oversized t-shirt, the cold from the tile floor seeping through my socks and into my bones. My hands, dry and cracked from washing dishes without gloves the night before, hovered over the stainless steel pan. The smell of expensive, thick-cut bacon began to fill the air, a heavy, greasy scent that clung to my hair and made my stomach churn. I was not hungry. I could not be hungry. For the last 9 months, eating had become a torture session. There was a lump on the right side of my neck, right under the jawline. At first, it had felt like a small marble, something I could ignore. But week by week, month by month, it had grown. Now, it felt like I was swallowing around a jagged stone every time I took a sip of water. It throbbed with a dull, persistent ache that radiated up into my ear and down into my collarbone. I cracked 4 eggs into the pan, watching the whites sizzle and turn opaque. I had to time this perfectly. Jet, my younger brother, needed his high-protein breakfast exactly 3 hours before his first warm-up pitch. If the eggs were too cold, he would refuse to eat them. If they were too hot, he would burn his tongue, and my mother, Brenda, would scream at me for sabotaging his focus. Jet was not just a teenager. In this house, he was a deity. He was a left-handed pitcher with a fastball that clocked 96 miles per hour, a genetic lottery ticket that my parents had been polishing since he was 4 years old. To Rex and Brenda, Jet was not a son. He was an investment portfolio. He was the retirement plan. He was the mansion in Florida and the yacht they talked about over dinner while I cleared their plates. Me? I was the insurance policy. I was the safety net. I was the shadow that moved silently through the hallways, paying the electric bills and driving the car and making sure the golden child never had to lift a finger that wasn't gripping a baseball. Sloan. The voice cracked through the morning silence like a whip. I flinched, nearly dropping the spatula. Jet stomped into the kitchen, his 6'3" frame filling the doorway. He was wearing his compression gear, a tight black shirt that showed off the muscles my parents had spent thousands of dollars cultivating with private trainers and nutritionists. He did not look at me. He never looked at me. He sat down at the kitchen island and immediately pulled out his phone, scrolling through TikTok with a bored expression. Easy on the salt this time, Jet muttered, his eyes glued to the screen. Coach says I am retaining water. I look puffy in the face. I did not answer. Talking hurt. The vibration of my own voice in my throat sent spikes of pain through the lump. I simply nodded, even though he wasn't watching, and adjusted the flame. Did you hear me? Jet snapped, looking up for a fraction of a second. God, you are so slow today. Do you want me to be late? Do you want me to miss warm-ups? I heard you, Jet, I whispered. My voice was raspy, thin and weak. The eggs are almost done. They better be, he grunted, turning back to his phone. And make sure the avocado is sliced thin. Last time you gave me chunks. It was gross. I slid the plate of eggs, perfectly sliced avocado, and turkey bacon across the counter. Jet poked at the yellow yolks with his fork, his face twisting into a sneer of disgust. He let out a loud, dramatic sigh. These are runny, he stated accusingly. They are over easy, Jet. That is how you asked for them yesterday. That is how you always eat them before a game, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He shoved the plate away. He didn't just push it. He shoved it with the force of a pitcher throwing a fastball. The plate slid across the expensive granite, flew off the edge, and crashed into the deep stainless steel sink. The sound of shattering ceramic was deafening in the quiet kitchen. Scrambled yellow mess and avocado splattered all over the faucet I had spent 20 minutes polishing the night before. I said scrambled. Jet muttered, standing up and puffing out his chest. He loomed over the counter, glaring at me as if I had just poisoned him. Make it again. And hurry up. We have to leave in 40 minutes. I stood there, gripping the spatula so hard my knuckles turned white. I looked at the mess in the sink. I looked at my brother, this boy I used to read bedtime stories to, who had grown into a monster of entitlement. My mother, Brenda, walked in at that moment. She was already dressed in her team colors, a rhinestone jacket that said "Baseball Mom" across the back. Her hair was teased high, stiff with hairspray. She looked at the broken plate in the sink, then at Jet's angry face, and finally, dismissively, at me. She did not ask if I was okay. She did not ask why Jet was throwing plates. Sloan, honestly, she sighed, shaking her head as she poured herself a coffee. You know he is under a lot of pressure today? This is the regional showcase. Scouts from the major leagues are going to be there. Just make the poor boy some new eggs. And clean up this mess before your father comes down. You know how Rex gets when the kitchen is dirty. We do not need negative energy this morning. I looked at her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear open my collar and show her the lump that was slowly suffocating me. I wanted to tell her that I had been coughing up blood in the bathroom sink for 3 days. But I knew it wouldn't matter. In the Beckett household, my pain was invisible. I am out of eggs, I whispered. Then go to the store. My father's voice boomed from the hallway. Rex walked in, smelling of Old Spice and arrogance. He clapped Jet on the shoulder, ignoring the shattered porcelain and the tension in the room. You ready to throw heat today, son? This is it. The big leagues are watching. This is the payday. Yeah, Dad. I am ready. Just waiting on the help to feed me. Jet laughed, shooting a cruel smirk in my direction. The help. That is what I was. A 27-year-old creative director at an advertising agency. And to them, I was just the help. I am not going to the store, I said, turning my back to them to hide the tears stinging my eyes. I have something to do. The room went silent. The air pressure dropped. Rex stopped patting Jet's back. Brenda froze mid-sip. I turned on the faucet to wash the egg yolk off the steel, the cold water numbing my fingers, but my mind drifted back to the origin of this servitude. I needed to remember why I was still here, why I was trapped in this cycle of abuse. It was 5 years ago. I was 22. I had just graduated top of my class from community college, working 2 jobs, one as a janitor, one as a barista, to pay for my own books because every spare dime in the household budget went to Jet's travel ball fees. The envelope had been thick. New York University. I had applied on a whim, a desperate prayer thrown out into the universe. But the universe had answered. Accepted. Not just accepted, but a full scholarship for their marketing program. It was my escape pod. It was my chance to be someone other than Jet's sister. I remembered sitting at this very kitchen table, the letter shaking in my hands, tears of pure joy streaming down my face. I had baked a cake, a cheap box mix, but I had frosted it myself. I thought, for once, we would celebrate me. When they walked in that evening, muddy and loud from a tournament, I held up the letter. I got in. I beamed, my heart soaring. I am going to New York. Full ride. Rex did not smile. He did not hug me. He snatched the letter from my hand, scanning it with a deep frown. Brenda dropped her purse on the counter and sighed, looking exhausted and annoyed. New York, Rex scoffed, tossing the letter onto the table like it was junk mail. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to live there? The scholarship covers tuition, Sloan, not rent, not food, not the subway. I will work, I argued, my voice trembling. I will get 3 jobs if I have to. I can do this. It is the best program in the country. And who is going to drive Jet to his pitching lessons on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Brenda asked, her voice dripping with a toxic mixture of guilt and pity. Your father works late. I have my shifts at the clinic. We rely on you, Sloan. We are a team. Family supports family. If you leave, who helps us? But this is my dream, I pleaded. Dreams do not pay the bills, Rex said, his voice cold and final. Jet's baseball, that is an investment. That is a future for all of us. You running off to play artist in the city is selfish. Purely selfish. Do you want to destroy your brother's chances just so you can go live in a shoebox? They spent the next week grinding me down. They told me I was too fragile for the city. They told me I was abandoning my little brother when he needed me most. They gaslit me until I believed that leaving them was a moral failure. So, I declined the offer. I stayed. I took a job at a local ad agency, worked my way up from intern to director, and handed over half my paycheck every month to help with the household expenses. Expenses that I later learned included first-class flights for Jet and custom leather seats for Rex's truck. I looked down at the sink in the present day. The egg yolk was starting to harden on the steel. That was 5 years ago. I had given them 5 years of my life, my money, and my soul. And what did I get? A shattered plate and a brother who called me to help. I wiped my hands on a rag. No more. Not today. The vibration of my phone in my pocket snapped me back to the present. I pulled it out, shielding the screen from Brenda's prying eyes. It was a reminder notification. Dr. Kinsley. Core needle biopsy. 9:30 in the morning. Do not eat or drink. I swallowed hard, the pain sharp and immediate. I hadn't told them. I had tried to tell Mom a week ago. I said, "Mom, I found a lump." She was busy sewing a patch on a Jets jersey and didn't even look up. She just said, "Probably a swollen gland, Sloan. Take some ibuprofen and stop being dramatic. Jet has a sore shoulder. That is a real injury." So I made the appointment myself. I didn't tell them it was today. I didn't tell them that the doctor was worried it might be thyroid cancer. I didn't tell them that I was terrified. All they knew was that it was Saturday, and Saturday meant I was the chauffeur. I slipped my phone back into my pocket. My hands were trembling, not from cold, but from adrenaline. This was it. The collision course I had been dreading all week. "Sloan, why are you just standing there?" Jet barked, now shoving a piece of toast into his mouth. Crumbs falling onto his jersey. "I need to be at the field by 9 for warm-ups. We need to leave in 10 minutes. I turned around slowly. The kitchen was bright now, filled with the morning sun that highlighted the dust motes dancing in the air. It looked like a perfect, happy family home from a magazine. It was a lie. "I cannot drive you," I said. My voice was quiet, but steady. Rex looked up from his iPad. Brenda froze. Jet stopped chewing. "Excuse me." Jet laughed, a cruel, disbelief sound. "What did you say?" I said, "I cannot drive you to the tournament." I repeated, louder this time. "I have a doctor's appointment at 9:30. It is important." "Cancel it," Rex said instantly. He didn't even ask what the appointment was for. It was a reflex for him. Anything that competed with Jet was to be eliminated. Jet's Uber account got suspended because of that incident last week with the driver. "You know that. We have one car available right now because mine is in the shop. You have to drive him." "The incident where Jet threw a Gatorade bottle at the driver because he missed a turn?" I asked, looking at my brother. "He was an idiot." Jet defended himself, shrugging. "Look, Sloan, stop being difficult. This is the biggest day of my life. Scouts are going to be there. Real scouts. If I pitch well today, I could get drafted in the first round next year. We are talking millions of dollars. Your little checkup can wait." "I have a lump in my throat, Dad," I said, looking directly at my father, ignoring Jet. "The doctor needs to stick a needle in it to see if it is cancer. I cannot reschedule. I have waited 9 months for this slot because the insurance you guys put me on has a terrible network." There. I said it. The C word. Cancer. I waited for the look of shock. I waited for the concern. I waited for my mother to rush over and hug me. Instead, Brenda rolled her eyes. "Oh, for God's sake, Sloan," she sighed, setting her mug down hard. "You always do this. You always have to make everything about you right when Jet has a big moment. It is a cyst. It is probably stress. You can go to the doctor on Monday." "They do not do biopsies on Mondays," I said, feeling tears prick my eyes. Not tears of sadness, but of pure, hot rage. "And I cannot drive him. I am not doing it." Jet stood up. He was massive in the kitchen, his shadow falling over me. He wasn't the little brother I played catch with in the backyard anymore. He was a stranger, a monster we had all created. "You are driving me," Jet growled, stepping closer. "You are going to get the keys, you are going to get in the car, and you are going to take me to the field. I am not missing warm-ups because you have a hypochondria flare-up." "No," I said. The word hung in the air like a gunshot. I had never said no to him. Not when he borrowed my money and never paid it back. Not when he stole my laptop. Not when he made me do his homework. "No," Jet repeated, his face turning red. "No. Take a taxi. Walk. I do not care. I am going to the hospital." I turned to walk away, to grab my purse from the counter. I thought the conversation was over. I was wrong. The air in the kitchen shifted instantly. It went from tense to dangerous. I could feel the heat coming off Jet as he moved. "You selfish brat," Jet shouted. He grabbed my arm, spinning me around. His grip was bruisingly tight. Jet, let go, I yelled, trying to wrench my arm free. You think you are so special? He spat, his face inches from mine. I could smell the toothpaste and the faint, chemical scent of the supplements he took. Stuff that came in unmarked jars from a clinic in Miami. You are nothing. You are just the driver. You are just the bank account. My arm is worth more than your entire life. I looked over at my parents. Rex was watching, his arms crossed. He wasn't moving to stop him. Brenda was looking at her phone, checking the time. Dad, I gasped, looking at him. Help me. Rex looked me dead in the eye. He is right, Sloan. You are being unreasonable. Just drive him. Why is it so hard for you to support this family? Support. I laughed, a hysterical, broken sound. I pay the electric bill. I pay the water bill. I paid for that jersey he is wearing. I have supported this family for 5 years. And now I might be sick, and you do not care. You are not sick, Brenda snapped. You are seeking attention. It is pathetic. I am leaving, I said, finally ripping my arm out of Jet's grip. I grabbed my keys from the counter. Give me those. Jet lunged for the keys. No, they are my keys. It is my car. I screamed. I held them tight to my chest. It is family property. Rex yelled. Sloan, give your brother the keys right now, or you are out of this house. I am already out. I yelled back. I am done. Find your own ride. I turned towards the garage door. I was 3 steps away from freedom. 3 steps away from the garage. That was when Jet moved. He was fast. An athlete's speed. He cut me off, blocking the door. His chest was heaving. His eyes were wide and wild. The pupils dilated in a way that wasn't natural. You aren't going anywhere, he whispered. It was a terrifying sound. I have to be at the showcase. Scouts are there. My future is there. Move, Jet. I warned him, my voice shaking. Or what, he sneered. What are you going to do? Write a sad poem about it. I said move. I tried to push past him. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have touched him. The moment my hand brushed his shoulder, he reacted. It wasn't a shove. It was a full-force backhand swing. His hand, thick with calluses from pitching, connected with the left side of my face. Crack. The sound was sickeningly loud, like a dry branch snapping in winter. The force of the blow lifted me off my feet. I spun, my vision blurring into a kaleidoscope of white and black. My hips slammed into the corner of the granite island, and I crumpled to the floor. For a second, there was silence. Absolute silence. My ears were ringing. A high-pitched whine that drowned out the hum of the refrigerator. I tasted copper. Blood. It filled my mouth, warm and metallic. I lay on the cool tile, blinking, trying to clear the spots from my eyes. I looked up. Jet was standing over me, breathing hard. He was shaking his hand, grimacing. Ow, he muttered. Damn it. Brenda rushed over. She was moving fast. For a split second, a tiny, foolish part of my heart thought, she is coming for me. She is coming to help me. She dropped to her knees. But not beside me. She knelt beside Jet. Oh my God, Brenda gasped, grabbing Jet's hand. Let me see. Let me see your fingers. Did you hurt your pitching hand? Move your fingers, baby. Can you make a fist? It stings, Jet whined, flexing his hand. She has a hard head. Rex, get some ice for Jet's hand. Brenda screamed at my father. Rex stepped over my legs. He literally stepped over me like I was a pile of dirty laundry. He opened the freezer and grabbed an ice pack. You stupid girl, Rex spat down at me. Look what you made him do. If his hand is swollen for the showcase, this is on you. If he cannot throw his slider, it is your fault. I slowly pushed myself up. The room tilted. My cheek felt like it was on fire. I touched it, and my fingers came away red. His class ring had cut me. You, I croaked. You only care about his hand. His future matters. Brenda yelled, glaring at me with pure hatred. Your life never did. You are just here. He is special, and you just tried to ruin him. Something inside me broke. It wasn't a bone. It was the tether. The invisible rope that had bound me to these people for 27 years. The rope made of guilt and obligation and a desperate need for love. It snapped. I didn't cry. The tears evaporated instantly. A cold, icy calm washed over me. I stood up. I felt dizzy, but I locked my knees. I looked at Jet, who was now holding the ice pack to his knuckles, looking at me with a mix of defiance and fear. He knew he had crossed a line. I looked at Brenda, fussing over him. I looked at Rex, shaking his head in disgust. Okay, I said. My voice was flat. Dead. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just gripped my keys tighter. Okay. Jet asked, confused. So you will drive me? I looked at him and smiled. A bloody, terrifying smile. No. I moved towards the door again. Jet stepped forward to block me. But this time, I reached into my purse. I pulled out the pepper spray I kept on my keychain. I raised it, pointing it directly at his eyes. Move, I said, or I swear to God, you will not be able to see the catcher, let alone the strike zone. Jet flinched back. He saw the look in my eyes. He saw that I wasn't his sister anymore. I was a stranger with nothing left to lose. Whoa, easy, Rex shouted, putting his hands up. Put that away, you psycho. Get out of my way, I commanded. Jet stepped aside, muttering curses under his breath. I walked into the garage. I got into my car, a 10-year-old sedan that I had paid for myself. I locked the doors instantly. As I started the engine, I saw Rex banging on the driver's side window. He was shouting something, his face purple with rage. Probably telling me I was disowned. Probably demanding money. I put the car in reverse. The garage door was opening. I backed out, scraping the side mirror against the frame because my hands were shaking so bad, but I didn't care. I reversed into the street, shifted into drive, and floored it. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I knew what was back there. A house of cards. A rotting kingdom. I drove. I drove through the suburban streets of Denver, the mountains looming in the distance. The pain in my face was throbbing, pulsing in time with the pain in my neck. I reached up and adjusted the rearview mirror to look at myself. The left side of my face was already swelling. A dark purple bruise was forming in the shape of a hand. There was a cut on my cheekbone, dripping blood onto my collar. I looked like a victim. No, I whispered to the empty car. Not a victim. A witness. I drove straight to the university hospital. I parked the car, turned off the engine, and just sat there for a moment. My phone was blowing up. 37 missed calls from Mom. 20 texts from Jet. Text from Jet. Come back right now. I am sorry. We need a ride. Uber is still blocked. Please, Sloan. Dad is going to kill me. Text from MOM. You are ungrateful trash. Do not bother coming home tonight. I looked at the messages. And then, I did something I should have done years ago. I opened the settings. I blocked Jet. I blocked Mom. I blocked Dad. Silence. I took a deep breath, wiped the blood off my cheek with a tissue, grabbed my purse, and walked into the hospital. Hello, friends. Before we see what happens at the hospital, if you are enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, what city are you listening from? Every comment helps this story reach more people who need to hear it. Thank you. The waiting room of the oncology department was quiet. It smelled of antiseptic and old magazines. When the nurse called my name, she stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes widened as she looked at my face. Honey, she whispered. What happened to you? I fell, I lied. It was the automatic reflex of an abuse victim. I fell in the kitchen. She didn't believe me. I could tell. She led me back to a procedure room. Dr. Kinsley walked in a few minutes later. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense haircut. She took one look at my cheek, then at the chart, then back at me. Sloan, she said gently, pulling up a stool. We need to do the biopsy on your thyroid. But first, I need to ask you about your face. And I need you to tell me the truth. Did someone hit you? I tried to hold it in. I really did. But the kindness in her voice was too much. It broke the dam. My brother, I whispered. Tears leaked out, stinging the cut on my cheek. He wanted a ride to baseball. I said no. Dr. Kinsley's face hardened. She handed me a tissue. Okay, we are going to document this. And you are not going back there tonight. Do you understand? She proceeded with the biopsy. It was uncomfortable, a long needle inserted into the base of my throat. But compared to the pain in my heart, it was nothing. I stared at the ceiling tiles, counting the dots, while she took the samples. When it was over, she bandaged my neck and gave me an ice pack for my face. Sloan, she said, her voice grave. Based on the ultrasound and the texture of the nodule, I am highly suspicious that this is papillary thyroid carcinoma. We will not know for sure until the pathology comes back in 48 hours, but I need you to prepare for surgery. We need to get this out. Cancer? I asked. The word tasted like ash. Likely, she said, but it is treatable, highly treatable. However, you cannot be in a high-stress environment. Stress suppresses the immune system. You need rest. I do not have anywhere to go, I admitted. I gave them all my money. We have a social worker, Dr. Kinsley said. But first, let us get you sorted. Go to the pharmacy downstairs, get your pain meds, and some antibiotics for that cut. Do you have your insurance card? I nodded. I walked down to the pharmacy in a daze. Cancer. I had cancer, and my parents were currently screaming at a phone screen because I wasn't driving their son to a game. The line at the pharmacy was short. I handed the script to the pharmacist, a young guy named Kevin. Just a $10 copay, he smiled. I reached into my wallet and pulled out my debit card. My trusty bank card. I swiped it. Beep. Declined. I frowned. That was impossible. I had just been paid yesterday. My paycheck was $3,000. I swiped again. Beep. Declined. Maybe the chip is dirty, I muttered, feeling my face heat up. The woman behind me sighed loudly. I can try running it manually, Kevin said. He typed in the numbers. I am sorry, Mississippi. It says insufficient funds. That cannot be right, I said, my hands shaking. I have money. I have over $2,000 in there. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I logged in. Checking account balance. -$42. -$42. I scrolled down the transaction history. My breath hitched. Transfer to Jet Beckett, Zelle, $1,000. Transfer to Rex Beckett, Venmo, $1,500. ATM withdrawal, $500. They had drained it. They had my passwords. Of course they did. Brenda had helped me set up the account years ago. They had logged in this morning, probably right after I left, and wiped me clean. Miss? Kevin asked. I couldn't speak. I turned away, leaving the medication on the counter. I walked to a bench in the hospital lobby and sat down. I felt like I was drowning. No money. No home. Cancer. I needed to check my credit. I had a credit card I kept for emergencies, one I rarely used. I opened the Credit Karma app. I stared at the screen. I blinked, sure that the concussion was making me hallucinate. Total debt, $178,450. Open accounts, 9. What? I clicked on the details. Chase Sapphire Reserve, balance, $28,000. Amex Platinum, balance, $45,000. Discover It, balance, $12,000. The list went on. 9 credit cards, all in my name, all opened in the last 4 years. I clicked on the transaction history for the Amex. Delta Airlines, first class, Denver to Miami, $1,800. Ritz-Carlton Sarasota, $3,200. Miami Anti-Aging Clinic, $5,000. DraftKings Deposit, $500. They weren't just using my money. They had stolen my identity. They had opened cards in my name, maxed them out to fund Jet's travel ball lifestyle, his supplements, his fancy hotels, and paid the minimum balance each month to keep the scheme going. And now that I had left, they had stopped caring. I sat there, the phone slipping from my numb fingers. They had mortgaged my entire existence to build a pedestal for Jet. I didn't go back to the pharmacy. Instead, I went back upstairs to Dr. Kinsley's office. I didn't know who else to turn to. When she saw me, pale and shaking, she pulled me into her private office. I showed her the phone. They stole everything. I whispered, I am ruined. I cannot pay for the surgery. I cannot pay for rent. I have nothing. Dr. Kinsley looked at the numbers. Her jaw tightened. She picked up her desk phone. I am calling a friend, she said. His name is Atticus. He is a forensic accountant and a lawyer. He hates bullies. Atticus arrived an hour later. He was a sharp-looking man in a charcoal suit, carrying a leather briefcase that looked older than me. He sat down, listened to my story, and looked at the screenshots. Sloan, Atticus said, his voice calm and precise. This is not just a family dispute. This is federal wire fraud, identity theft, elder abuse, well, reverse elder abuse, and credit card fraud. But they are my parents, I said, the old guilt flaring up. If I report them, they will go to jail. Atticus looked at the bruise on my face. They hit you. They left you with cancer and no way to pay for it. They stole nearly $200,000 in your name to fund a baseball career that is likely fueled by. He paused, looking at the Miami Anti-Aging Clinic charge. Performance-enhancing drugs. Steroids, I asked. Healthy 19-year-olds do not spend $5,000 at anti-aging clinics in Miami, Atticus noted. Sloan, you have two choices. You can accept this debt, declare bankruptcy, ruin your credit for 7 years, and let them win. Or, you can sign this affidavit stating you did not open these accounts. I thought about Jet's laugh. I thought about Rex stepping over me. I thought about Brenda saying my life never mattered. I picked up the pen. Burn it down, I said. Burn it all down. Atticus smiled. It was a shark smile. With pleasure. First, we freeze everything. Then, we go to the police. And finally, we let the baseball league know exactly what kind of supplements their star prospect is taking. The next week was a blur of paperwork and silence. I stayed in Dr. Kinsley's guest room. She was an angel. She fed me soup, checked my bandages, and let me sleep for 14 hours a day. Atticus was busy. He filed reports with the Federal Trade Commission. He went to the Denver Police Department with the evidence of identity theft. Because the amount was over $100,000 and it crossed state lines, the FBI got involved. Meanwhile, I shut off the utilities at the house. The electric bill was in my name. The water was in my name. The internet was in my name. I called the companies on Monday morning. I am moving, I told them. Please disconnect service immediately. By Tuesday evening, I imagined the chaos. No Wi-Fi for Jet's gaming. No hot water for Rex's showers. No lights. My blocked folder on my phone was full of voicemails. I didn't listen to them, but Atticus did. He needed them for evidence. Your father left a voicemail threatening to come to your office, Atticus told me on Wednesday. So we got a restraining order. If he comes within 500 feet of you, he goes to jail immediately. And Jet? I asked. The tournament was last weekend. How did he do? Atticus smirked. He pitched well. Threw 97 miles per hour. Scouts were drooling. But we sent a little package to the tournament organizers. Copies of the receipts from the Miami clinic. And the receipts for the testosterone shipments sent to your parents' house. What will happen? They conduct random drug tests for the finalists, Atticus said. Jet is playing in the championship game this Saturday. It is televised. They're going to test him right before he takes the mound. Saturday arrived. 1 week since the slap. I sat in Dr. Kinsley's living room, wrapped in a blanket. The TV was on. The All-American Baseball Showcase Championship game. The announcers were hyping Jet up. Jet Beckett, the phenomenon from Denver. This kid has a golden arm. First-round draft pick written all over him. The camera cut to Jet warming up in the bullpen. He looked cocky. He was laughing with his catcher. In the stands, I saw Rex and Brenda. They were holding a sign, Jet Engine. They looked happy. They probably thought I was bluffing. They probably thought they could just bully me back into submission when they got home. Then, the camera angle shifted. 2 men in suits walked into the bullpen. They were wearing badges. They weren't scouts. They were officials from the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency and the tournament directors. I watched, holding my breath. The officials spoke to Jet. Jet laughed at first, shaking his head. Then, one of the men grabbed his arm, the pitching arm. Jet shoved him. Oh my, the announcer said, his voice confused. There seems to be a commotion in the bullpen. The camera zoomed in. Jet was screaming. He was pointing at his parents in the stands. The officials were firm. They weren't letting him pitch. They were escorting him out. Jet tried to resist. He swung at the official. That was the end. 3 security guards tackled him. On live national television. The Golden Boy, face down in the dirt of the bullpen, being handcuffed. The announcers were stunned. We are receiving word that Jet Beckett has been disqualified for a violation of the substance abuse policy and assault on an official. The camera panned to the stands. Rex and Brenda were standing up, screaming. But then, they stopped. Because police officers, real police, not security, were walking down the aisle towards them. The broadcast cut away to a commercial, but Twitter was faster. Within minutes, the hashtag #JetBeckettBust was trending. Videos from people in the stands surfaced. They showed Rex and Brenda being handcuffed. Atticus called me. Turn on the local news, he said. I switched the channel. A news helicopter was circling my parents' house, my childhood home. Breaking news. FBI raid in suburban Denver. Police are executing a search warrant at the home of local baseball prospect Jet Beckett, the reporter said. This is in connection to a massive identity theft and fraud ring allegedly run by the parents, Rex and Brenda Beckett. I watched as agents carried out boxes. I recognized them. My dad's safe. The box where Mom kept important papers. They found the card embossing machine. Atticus told me later. Rex had bought a machine off the dark web to print the fake credit cards with my name on them, so they looked authentic when he used them at stores. The house, usually the envy of the neighborhood with its manicured lawn, was now swarming with federal agents. The neighbors were out on their lawns, filming. The same neighbors who used to look down on me because I drove a beat-up car while Jet rode in luxury. Now they knew. It was all fake. It was all stolen. I touched the bandage on my neck. My biopsy results had come back yesterday. Papillary carcinoma. Cancer. But it was stage 1. Dr. Kinsley scheduled the surgery for next Tuesday. I would lose my thyroid, but I would live. I watched the police car drive away with my parents in the back. I felt nothing. No joy. No sadness. Just a massive, heavy weight lifting off my chest. 2 months later, I was recovering from surgery. The scar on my neck was a thin pink line. My voice was fully back, no longer raspy. Atticus brought me the mail. He screened everything, but he handed me one envelope. "It is from the county jail," he said. "From Brenda." I took the envelope. My hand hovered over the seal. "You do not have to read it," Atticus said. "I need to," I replied. I opened it. It was written on lined yellow paper. "Dearest Sloan, I hope you are happy. Your father is facing 10 years. Jet is in rehab and on suicide watch because his career is over. I am looking at 5 years. All because you could not just drive the car. All because you were jealous of your brother. We did this for the family. We did this so we could all be rich. You ungrateful child. If you have any heart left, you will tell the judge it was a misunderstanding. You owe us. We gave you life. Love, Mom." I read it twice. We gave you life. I looked at Dr. Kinsley, who was drinking tea in the kitchen. She had given me life. She had saved me from cancer. She had given me a home when mine kicked me out. My parents didn't give me life. They gave me debt. They gave me a complex. They gave me a scar. I stood up and walked to the fireplace. "Sloan," Atticus asked. I threw the letter into the flames. I watched the paper curl and blacken. I watched the words "Love, Mom" turn into ash. No response. Atticus asked. "No," I said. "The ghost in the attic is gone." The trial took place 8 months later. I had to testify. I walked into the courtroom wearing a sharp navy suit. I looked successful. I looked strong. When I took the stand, I didn't look at them. I looked at the jury. I told them about the breakfast. I told them about the slap. I told them about the cancer. I told them about the 9 credit cards. Rex's lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive sister. He tried to say I authorized the spending. But Atticus had done his homework. He had the IP addresses. He had the handwriting analysis proving forgery. He had the video of Jet assaulting the official, proving his violent tendencies. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge was a stern woman who didn't like bullies. "Rex Beckett," she said, "you preyed on your own daughter. You treated her like cattle to be milked. I sentence you to 8 years in federal prison." Rex slumped in his chair. He looked old. The arrogance was gone. "Brenda Beckett," the judge continued, "you were complicit. You chose one child over the other. 3 years probation and 2,000 hours of community service. You will spend every weekend for the next 5 years picking up trash on the side of the highway." And Jet got a plea deal. Because he was young and under the influence of his parents and drugs. He got probation and mandatory rehab. But the MLB banned him for life. No college would touch him. His arm, his $1 million arm, was now worthless. The bank foreclosed on the house. It was sold to pay off the debts. My debts were wiped clean by the fraud finding. As the bailiffs led Rex away, he turned to look at me. He opened his mouth to say something. Maybe to beg. Maybe to curse me. I turned my back. I walked out of the double doors and into the sunlight. 1 year later. I live in a small coastal town in Oregon now. The ocean air is good for my scar. It is barely visible unless I tilt my head back. I changed my middle name. I go by Sloan Rose now. No more Beckett. I used the settlement money from the credit card companies for allowing the fraud to happen to open a small bookstore. It smells like paper and coffee, my favorite smells. Yesterday, I was browsing the internet and saw a local news article from Denver. Former baseball prodigy arrested for bar fight. It was Jet. He was working at a car wash. He got into a fight with a customer who criticized his drying technique. The mugshot showed a bloated, angry face. He looked just like Rex. I closed the laptop. A customer walked in. A little girl holding her brother's hand. "Can we get a story?" the little girl asked. I smiled. A real smile. Not the fake one I wore for 20 years. Of course, I said. What kind of story do you want to hear? I am free. I am healthy. And for the first time in my life, the story is mine to write. That is the end of the story. Now I have a question for you. Am I the villain for letting their house of cards burn down? Or was I just the wind that finally blew? Should I have forgiven them? Let me know your honest opinion in the comments below. And please, do not forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories of justice. See you in the next one.